needs, please contact Kabayan Radio Sales and Marketing Team at 44994943 or email at info@kabayanfm.com. Kabayan Radio 94.3 FM, bringing your business to the Filipino and international communities.
The best music that you want to hear. Morning, noon, and night. 94.3 on your frequencies. Number one in your heart. Kabayan Radio 94.3.
We are online for you 24/7. The People's Radio Station, Kabayan Radio 94.3. For your advertising needs, please contact Kabayan Radio Sales and Marketing Team at 44994943 or email at info@kabayanfm.com. Kabayan Radio 94.3 FM, bringing your business to the Filipino and international communities.
Live, online, on air, and on ground. Kabayan Radio 94.3.
The first and the only Filipino radio station in Qatar, Kabayan Radio 94.3. Health is wealth. Ask about your health conditions because the doctor is in. The doctor is in right here on Kabayan Radio 94.3.
Kabayan Radio 94.3. Good evening po, Kabayan. Of course, I am your man, John, your host for tonight's Doctor is in, the show that keeps you informed and healthy. And we're coming to you live on Kabayan Radio 94.3's broadcast studio right here in Almontaza. And of course, you can catch us streaming on our Facebook page at Kabayan 943. And just in case you missed this show tonight, you may also catch it later on our YouTube handle, which is again still at Kabayan 943. Now, Kabayan, get ready for an exciting and informative speech today. Now, we're diving into the world of dermatology and discussing the ABCD of skin problems. Now, skin issues can affect anyone, as you guys may know, and it's essential, very, very important to understand the basics to keep our skin healthy and always glowing. To help us shed some light on this topic, we have a very special guest with us. You may be already familiar with her. She's been here plenty of times with us here on Kabayan Radio 94.3. But like I said, she is a GP dermatologist with an impressive 16 years of experience. Now, she's worked in Qatar for the past 8 years and is currently practicing at the prestigious Family Medical Polyclinic. Mga kabayan, we give you Dr. Ethel Cajefe. Hello po.
Hi, good evening mga kabayan. Hi, the RJ John.
Yeah. Kamusta po kayo ngayon?
I'm okay, and thank you for having us again.
Oh, you're more than it's our pleasure to always have you, Dr. Ethel. But let's dive into this topic of dermatology because I am completely clueless about it. So my first question, po, for you is let's get into the ABCD of skin problems, Dr. Could you explain to us and all of our listeners and viewers as well what this acronym stands for and how it relates to skin health?
Well, actually, we just call it ABCD because these are the primary or the most common diseases we encounter here in Qatar. So A stands for acne, and B is for burn, C is for what is C is for? ABCD, so that's acne, burn, contact dermatitis. D is all other forms of dermatitis. So those are the most common skin issues that we encounter here in Qatar.
And this is just in Qatar in general, po ba, or Middle East, or
actually generally even in other countries, but most especially here. That's what I encounter most of the time.
Oh, okay, all right. And you've doing this for 8 years, so there must be a lot now that you've encountered. Is there different kinds of acne problems or some sorts?
Well, because acne is mostly common here because of the weather.
Okay.
It is because of mostly it's because of excessive sebum or oil. So because of the weather, we are more prone to getting sweats. So these are very common, and not just that, it is also because of the hormones. So even if it's not related to weather, normally you really get acne, especially when you reach that age where you have the hormonal surge. So that's when you become adolescent, and then it is also common. It is also genetically inclined, and environmental at the same time. That's why it's common here.
Okay, so Dr. Ethel, you mentioned it already. It is most commonly seen sa mga young adolescents.
Yeah,
but when
mostly.
it comes to adults, there's still some people who develop acne, and you mentioned because of the weather, because of food and hormones. Can you dive into a little bit more about that? Like, how about certain types of food? Does that affect
For adults?
For adults?
Yeah. Well, acne is not related to any kind of food because this is not allergic reaction. But if you notice that certain food triggers your acne, then certainly you have to stop or avoid eating that food. But aside from the weather, as I said, also aside from genetic, stress is also a very common trigger for acne breakout. So that's why, since we are all OFW here, most of us, so the life is not that complacent. So we are undergoing a lot of stress. So that's why it's also common among adults, not just adolescents. And then when you sleep late, it also triggers excessive production of sebum. So you also get acne when you sleep late.
Sorry,
So
sebum?
these are oil like that.
Okay.
This triggers appearance of acne.
So get that, mga kabayan. Sebum is oil. That's the first time I've heard that.
Okay, sorry.
Actually, but wonderful. So basically, sleeping late is not only bad for your health, kabayan, not only because you will feel tired the next day, but it's also very bad for your skin, like what Dr. Ethel said. So besides oils that causes these acnes, are there any other food triggers that may cause acnes? Or
Food triggers, not really, because it's not really related to food, just as I said. But if you notice certain food, in certain food triggers your acne, then you have to avoid eating that. But there is no there is no relationship between food and acne development or acne breakout.
and this weather that you were talking about, Puba, is this because of the humidity? Or?
Yeah, the humidity, because you tend to sweat a lot.
Okay, so in
So
winter,
the sweat tends to clog more the pores, so that's why you get more acne.
Wow.
And then so those are the and sometimes, especially at the back, because you sweat a lot. This is also a breeding ground for certain infection, like fungal infection. So even fungal infection, sometimes if it affects your back, you also get acne. So sometimes acne also may be related with fungal infection, with bacterial infection. So sometimes we treat acne differently. Depends on how it appears on your case.
Okay. Wow. Well, I, for myself, as an example, I do not know the difference between what an acne is and a dermatitis, because for me it looks very similar. So can you tell us some of the key distinguishing factors between an acne and what a dermatitis is?
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier with the ABCD, we mentioned contact dermatitis and other form of dermatitis, because basically there are a lot of forms of dermatitis. The most common is contact, because that is when you get allergic reaction from certain things that comes in contact with your skin. So this is also common. So what happens is these trigger factors, or these trigger things that comes in contact with your skin causes inflammation with your skin. Dermatitis is just inflammation of skin. That's a general term for that. So anything that might cause inflammation on your skin is a kind of dermatitis. So contact dermatitis is just a kind of dermatitis.
Oh, okay, okay. So, for example, clothes that you're wearing, if you're allergic, that could be a trigger.
It could be a trigger, like also perfume. If you spray perfume and you're allergic to it, like contact with dust, contact with certain anything that you come in contact with that you are allergic to. And then there are other form of dermatitis, but you can distinguish it from pimple with the appearance, because most of the dermatitis, they don't have this sebum like appearance or like appearance. They are different. You can notice it with the appearance. So mahirap explain, but better you check with the doctor or your dermatologist so they can explain. But as I said, sometimes it comes together, acne and dermatitis. Sometimes they come together or appears at the same time.
Okay. Wow, it's two problems at the same time.
Yeah, sometimes.
So, you mentioned about clothes or anything that you come in contact with that can cause that. Does dermatitis, can the weather also cause dermatitis, or?
Yeah, it does. There are other dermatitis that cause. We have what we call atopic dermatitis. This one is most commonly encountered in children, and they are commonly known as skin asthma. So these are dermatitis that practically you will know what is causing the dermatitis if you do tests to figure out what is really the trigger. So, but this kind of dermatitis, it fades or it goes on its own when the child grows up. So usually the individual outgrows this kind of dermatitis.
Okay.
If they don't outgrow it, then sometimes it still appears, but it tames down.
Okay. Besides its physical appearance, po ba, does it hurt? Like, does an acne hurt, or does dermatitis hurt? Does it itch?
The dermatitis is mostly itchy, but the acne, it's not really itchy. If it becomes itchy, then most likely there is appearance of dermatitis as well.
Oh, okay. So that's when both of them are...
May appear. So, yeah. And then the contact dermatitis or any form of dermatitis aside from itching, it's really red, and sometimes the redness is not just with the rashes. That's when you get rashes. Dermatitis are commonly known as rashes kasi yung pimples, you see it as nodular, yung malalaki sila, like yung ganun. Pero when it's rashes, yung mga pinpoint, these are dermatitis, and they usually are red. And if you scratch them, they usually spread. Okay. Because the more you scratch, the more you trigger itching, so it becomes more. So that's what you have to avoid scratching.
Is it contagious po ba? I mean,
it's not contagious, but it might spread if you keep on scratching it.
Only throughout your body po?
Yeah, the more you scratch, the more it becomes itchy.
Okay, but I mean, for example, I touch someone with dermatitis.
No, it doesn't.
There's no way to
unless it has fungal infection. It comes with a fungal infection, which could also happen.
Okay, all right. Well, Dr. Ethel, can you tell our listeners where we can find Family Medical Polyclinics?
Yeah. So we have two branches. I'm in the Wukir branch. It's in Wukir Family Medical Polyclinic. There are 3 dermatologists. I am one of them. Then there is Dr. Krikor and Dr. Aruba. We are, can I say the time?
Yes,
Yeah. We are open daily except on Fridays, and we open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. except on Fridays.
Wow. So you are located in Wukir?
In Wukir, but we also have another branch in Azazia. The doctors there are Dr. Samir and Dr. Hazar. They are both dermatologists as well.
And Doctor, what is the easiest way to access the one in Wukir? Is there like modes of transport, like a car would be sufficient?
Yeah, actually the road now is under construction, but there are alternative route. You can easily access it, and you can call before you go. So if you're going to call, look for in Wukir, you look for Miss Sausan or Miss Junella. And in Azizia, you can look for Madam Hala. Yeah.
And of course, the one in Azizia is accessible through the metro and the rail and all of that, right?
I think it's accessible with the metro. Great. It's near Villaggio. So
definitely.
yeah.
So you heard that, mga kabayan. if you ever decide to head by the Family Medical Polyclinic right by Azazia, you can access it through public transport as well. You don't need to have your own car. But the one in Bukir, of course, we suggest that you have your car. And of course, you can find Dr. Ethel there. And as you can see, her skin is absolutely glowing, mga kabayan. So if I were you, I would head there right now. But anyways, let's go back, Dr. Ethel, to our next question, which is this is something more serious, psoriasis and eczema. So are they often due to certain similarities, or do they have the certain symptoms? And can you explain the fundamental differences between the two, if they have any?
Yeah, eczema is just another term actually for dermatitis, because this is also inflammation of the skin, which is triggered by certain factors. So that is eczema. And a lot of patients are interchanging the difference between eczema and psoriasis. Most of the time they're thinking it's already psoriasis. The difference is the psoriasis, it is basically an autoimmune disease. The autoimmune disease, it means that your own body is against you. So you are developing this kind of rashes. So what happens is sometimes it's because of low immune system, and sometimes it's because your skin is multiplying faster than it should. So dead skins are growing on top of the other, so it becomes thicker. So you will notice in psoriasis the skin is much thicker. There is plaques or scaling, but the eczema, these are just the rashes, commonly known as rashes. But the psoriasis, you will see that it's more elevated. There is plaques, and there are certain thickening of the skin. So those are the difference. But the treatment is the same actually. The most common treatment is application of cortisone cream. But with the psoriasis, it will help if you use phototherapy. It will help.
What is phototherapy?
Well, phototherapy, it's just exposure to UV light. We expose the lesion to the UV light, so that the appearance of the scales will subside.
How about when it comes to, because you described physical appearance, does the person feel any pain for psoriasis or eczema, or is it itchy? Is it painful?
The dermatitis or eczema are really more itchy than psoriasis. But psoriasis, you will see that you have the lesion, but sometimes you don't get itching. But sometimes you also get itching, and sometimes they also appear together. So that's the problem when they appear together. You will see that the appearance is much worse than just one of them is existing.
So psoriasis, Dr. Ethel, is it curable? Is this because it's
unfortunately there is no cure for psoriasis, but we can, as I said, tame it down by using certain creams, or if you have access for phototherapy, then it will help also. There are also trigger factors. Psoriasis and eczema are also stress related. So actually all these conditions or diseases that we are tackling with the skin, the most common culprit would always be stress, because the skin is the first barrier. Is the first barrier of the immune of our body. So whatever stress you are into, the skin suffers first before any other organs.
Wow. Dr. Ethel, I must say, mga kabayan, it has to be stress-free because of how she is glowing right now. But going back, Dr. Ethel, you mentioned psoriasis having no cure. But how about eczema? Does eczema have a cure? Does it go away?
Eczema is recurrent also if you are exposed to certain trigger. But sometimes if you keep on getting exposed to the same trigger, sometimes it goes away. So you get used to the trigger. So sometimes it doesn't appear anymore. Like when I said that yung atopic dermatitis, you outgrow it. Yeah, it's same with other eczema, but it's not always the case.
Okay, because here in Qatar, of course, I hear a lot of babies also, or children have eczema. due to the weather as well, or?
It could be to the weather. It could be due to the weather, and the only way to determine which is causing the eczema is there are certain tests that you can do, like blood tests
Okay.
and skin patch testing. So we would at least know certain things that we can avoid, so that it will not appear.
How about psoriasis and eczema? How about when it comes to lifestyle choices? For example, the smoking affected, the food that we eat, besides stress?
Definitely, smoking is. If you avoid smoking, there are a lot of things that will, a lot of good things will happen to you, including in your skin. It's definitely a trigger, so you have to avoid, because, stress, one, and you have to boost your immune system, because the more you have weak immune system, the more you are prone to getting all these kind of diseases.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for answering that. But let's move on, Dr. Ethel, to burns naman po. Can you tell us the severity of different kinds of burns and the treatment required by people when it comes to burns?
Well, the burns there are just categorized with first degree, second degree, third degree, fourth degree, fifth degree. But the most common we experience here in Qatar is just first degree, because most of the time it's just because of the sun exposure.
So you can get first degree just from being
from the sun
exposed to the
exposure.
sun.
That's when you get sunburn. So these are just first degree burn. So the rest, like in second degree burn, there is already partial thickness burn, meaning it's not just the superficial layer of your skin, but also the dermis, which is deep within your epidermis. So yun yung second degree. The third degree, it will already include the nerves. So kapag third degree naman, basically you will not feel pain anymore kasi namatay na yung nerves. The most painful burn would be the first and the second degree burn.
Wow.
And that's the most common naman.
So the third degree burn all the way to the fifth degree, that's the most fatal, right? Or
Yeah, the most fatal is the fourth degree burn. The fifth, no one survives fifth degree burn. But the fourth is the most fatal.
Well, as you mentioned, because I really didn't know that the first degree burn po pala is a sunburn.
Sunburn. You can get first degree burn with sunburn.
And most definitely here in Qatar, it's definitely common.
It's
we have a lot of
common,
engineers who go out there.
Yeah.
And what are some of the treatments that you guys have in Family Medical Clinic for first degree burns?
Yeah, if it's just first degree burn, there are certain antibiotic creams that you can use. The most commonly used is silver sulfadiazine together with fusidic acid. These are the most commonly creams that we can apply on the first degree burn. But if you don't have any access to this, because usually if you want home remedy, then you just wash it with cool water, not really cold, but just cool water, and then you can apply petroleum jelly. If it's not that much, if the burn is not that much, you can do that.
Yeah. Well, how about second degree burns? Does that need medical attention?
Yeah, you might need medical attention because it's painful already, because it's deep under the dermis, and it might cause a scarring.
Okay.
It might cause scarring.
And of course, our kabayans can still go to Family Medical.
Right? To have it treated.
And how about that? How do you guys treat second degree burns?
Well, basically, we just clean it, because you really have to clean the burn just to avoid any kind of infection. Sometimes if it's very deep, like third degree, we do have to we require anti-tetanus, because it might already cause tetanus. And then upon cleaning, you just have to apply these creams regularly until it heals. When it heals, sometimes the second degree and third degree might leave scars. So after it is healed, then that's the time we treat the scar.
So when, for example, yung mga nagluluto po, Dr. Ethel, when you're cooking, that kind of burn is already considered a second degree burn, yes?
It depends if it's deep within the dermis. Kung superficial lang siya, like nag-red lang siya, ganon, well, it's just first degree.
Oh, okay. But okay. Oh, so again, mga kabayan, you heard that from Dr. Ethel herself. So for all the mommies out there na mahilig magluto that get this, you can head on over to Family Medical Polyclinic and get that checked up, because they have all the answers for you guys over there. And Dr. Ethel, can you tell our listeners po again where we can find you, some of the areas where we can find Family Medical Polyclinic once again here in Qatar?
Yeah, again, Family Medical Polyclinic is located in Al Wukir, Al Mashaf, and in Al Azizia. And Yeah, you can look for Sausan for your appointments, and Janela in Albuquerque, and Madam Hala in Azizia.
And as for Dr. Ethel po,
I will be in Albuquerque.
she's going to be there in Albuquerque. So Dr. Ethel, let's move on to our next question po, which is when it comes to minor burns po, you talked about home remedies earlier. Can you like for example, I burn myself in the middle of the night. I can't go to Family Medical Polyclinic right away. Can you give us a list of some of the stuff that we can find at home to remedy the pain?
Well, for the burn, as I said, you just wash it with cold water. Don't use any other things except petroleum jelly, because you just need to soothe the area. So if you're familiar with Mebo, that one will also work. But if it's too much painful, you do the petroleum jelly application first, and then the next day you can go to the clinic. Because if it's only first degree, it's not that much an emergency. You can use certain things that you have at home to soothe the burnt area.
Would it help if I, for example, put it in a cold area, like under an aircon or
yeah, it will help, but it will help if it's just very superficial.
Okay.
Just to cool the area.
But second degree burns, absolutely not. It requires medical attention.
Because we have to check if how deep is the burn already.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Well, so my next question though is, in cases of sunburn naman po, what are the recommended steps for immediate relief and long-term skin recovery? And are there any specific products or ingredients that individuals should look for and avoid?
For sunburn?
Yes.
Yeah, because the weather today, it's very hot, no? So you are more prone to getting sunburn. There are certain creams that you can apply. Sunblock, of course, that's necessary. You have to apply it like 15 to 30 minutes before getting exposed to the sun. Otherwise, it will not be effective. And then if you don't really want to get burn, you use the physical sunblock, because physical sunblock wards off the UV rays. It will not penetrate your skin anymore. The chemical sunblock tends to penetrate the skin, but it converts the heat to energy, but still it gets inside your skin. So if you really want to not to get dark, you use the physical sunblock.
Okay. So again, this is why we have the doctors in, mga kabayan, because I also didn't know.
Okay.
Usually ina-apply ko yung sunblock and then immediately you go out in the sun. So again, according to Dr. Ethel of Family Medical Polyclinic, you have to apply it 15 to 20 minutes. And that works the best.
Yeah, it works the best. And then you have to, with this kind of weather, you have to reapply every 2 hours if you're always outside.
Wow. So, kailangan po pala.
Reapplication.
So how about, for example, let's say you're having fun I don't know who has fun, but right now on the beach. But let's say you had an outing at the beach po. And when you dip into the water, does your sunblock go away because it mixes with the water?
No, there are certain sunblocks that are waterproof.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
all
can
of
use
them or specific?
yeah, there are specific sunblock that are waterproof.
Yeah.
So
sorry, continue.
yeah, so these are the sunblock you have to look for if you're going to the beach.
Okay, so there's specific po ba?
Yeah.
And also, I always see SPF. Sorry, SPF. Well, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, SPF is just sun protective factor.
Okay.
So this is just the percentage that the sunblock blocks. The percentage of the UV rays that the sunblock blocks. So usually kapag ka SPF like 15, it only blocks like 30% of the UV rays. That's why we always suggest to use SPF 30 and above, because 15 is it only covers certain very low percentage of UV blockage.
Wow.
So use at least SPF 30 above, but here I would suggest 50.
50 and above, because it's really hot. We are in Qatar and in the Middle East. Again, mga kabayan, 50 and above SPF, a level when you are here in Qatar. And again, you have to apply it 15 to 20 minutes before you go outside and reapply it after every 2 hours, mga kabayan, as per our Dr. Ethel of Family Medical Polyclinic. Well, as you may know, Dr. Ethel, when it comes to the workplace here in Qatar, a lot of us come here to work, and we cannot. Sometimes in our workplace, we are exposed to chemicals, and sometimes they may burn us. Is there? Can I go to family medical polyclinic to get that treated as well
For chemical burns, well, it depends on what kind of chemical, but I would suggest if it's really a toxic chemical, they should go to emergency room already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how about, for example, like, how some household items, like,
These chemical
kind of
burns.
chemical.
Yeah, if we still have to assess the degree of the burn. So if it's if we can manage it in the clinic, then definitely we will, because you just have to wash off even the chemicals that came in contact with you. But if the degree is not manageable in the clinic, they definitely we will refer them to the hospital.
Doctor, is there certain chemicals, for example, for a dishwashing liquid and for washing our clothes, that we should avoid because it may cause burns in our skin?
Yeah, there are certain, especially any acids and alkaline. So you have to avoid this. Yung mga, but certain, the stronger ones, you really have to avoid touching them because they can cause burn. And not just burn, sometimes it can also cause dermatitis, like contact dermatitis. So you have to be careful. You always wear gloves, avoid touching it directly.
Okay. Dr. Ethel, can a dermatitis progress into a psoriasis or eczema?
That is always, a lot of patients are always asking that. But usually it doesn't progress to psoriasis because psoriasis is an autoimmune disease, so your body is against you. But the stress, however, can give you both psoriasis and dermatitis.
And also, it runs in the family.
Yeah, if it runs in the family. Sometimes
it's more
also.
likely for you to get that. Wow. Well, Doctor, also, since we are on the topic of burns already, we've already covered first degree burns, second degree burns, chemical burns. How about electrical burns, Puba? Is there...
No electrical burn. It really has to be with the emergency. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So for all the electrical engineers out there, that's an emergency situation if it is an electrical burn. Doctor, can you please invite again our Kabayans to Family Medical Polyclinic? Where can we find you guys and the doctors that you have there?
Yeah. So again, Family Medical Polyclinic is located in Al Wukir and in Azizia, but we also have other branches. Can I mention Gulf Dental Center? We have Gulf Dental Center. I will get my...
So again, you can catch Dr. Ethel, guys, right by Woke branch of Family Medical Polyclinic. And also, if you don't have a car, there's also a branch in Azizia which you can access via public transport. So again, mga kabayan, let's take it back to Dr. Ethel. Ethel, you were telling our listeners where they can find you.
If I can mention the Gulf Dental Center, because we have Gulf Dental Center is our sister company. We have 5 branches in Wakra. There is one in Duhail. There is one in Hilal, Al Abib, and Old Airport. In Old Airport, most of the dentists there are all Kabayans. So they can look for Dr. Lilibeth Cabarubias, Dr. Arman Yuson, Dr. Mary Jane De Leon. In Hilal, Dr. and Dr. Alisa Cabarubias. Yeah. So these are our Kabayan dentists in Old Airport.
Wow. And they're open from 9 to 9 din po ba?
9 to 9, yeah. And they can look for Ruvelin or JR for appointment.
Wow, wonderful. Well,
yeah.
Doctor, it's been a pleasure. Well, one final question. Thermal burns. How about thermal burns? Is there a difference between chemical and electrical burns when it comes to thermal burns?
Yeah. Well, actually, all of these burns, we always assess them with the degree. So that's if it's first degree, second degree, third degree, and so on. So, but if it's thermal, if it's just superficial, we can easily treat it the same way you treat burns. The only difference is that the only dangerous burn that you really have to go to the emergency is one is chemical burn, but you still have to assess the degree of burn. The electrical burn, which might the reason why we have to go to the ER is because it affects the heart as well with the electrical burn. Yeah, because of the electricity. So those you have to be very careful. But the rest, we first assess the degree of the burn. So that's why we have to check if it's just first degree, second degree.
Okay. And for children here in Qatar, besides first degree burns from the sunburn, is there any other that's common for children?
Scald burn only from the water.
And where do you
and even if we shower, because right now the water is very hot, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you also get, but usually it's from cooking, scald burn like that.
But
Thermal burn from cooking also.
Okay.
So these are
So the scalp burn, that actually
Scald.
a scald burn. Okay, scald burn. All right.
Okay.
That's why we have Dr. Ethel with us, mga kabayan, to keep us well informed about everything in dermatology. So again, you may find Dr. Ethel Cajefe in Family Medical Polyclinic right by Wukair, and also Azizia branch. They also have that along with all the Gulf dental centers around town. Again, marami pong mga kabayans na makakatulong po sa inyo right by Old Airport Road Gulf Dental Center. So not only do they have some for skin treatments, they also have some for dental treatments as well. So mga kabayan, they're a one-stop shop for everything beauty related. So once again, Dr. Ethel, do you have anyone to say hello to or anyone to greet?
Yeah, if I can just mention the other doctors in other branches.
Sure.
The head doctor, so the people will be aware. So in Wakra, we have Dr. Pavitra, and you can look for Jackie. In the Gulf Dental Center in Duhail branch, the head is Dr. Mortada, and you can look for Jen for the appointment. In Hilal, we have the head doctor is Dr. Deep Maten. He's an orthodontist, and you can look for Karen Dionisio for appointments. And then in Al Abib, the head doctor is our very own medical director, Dr. Mahmoud Abusaina, and you can look for Gada. And again, in Old Airport, there is Dr. Lilibeth, Dr. Arman, Dr. Mary Jane, and Dr. Elisa. And again, you can look for Ruvelin and JR. And of course, in Azizia, there is Dr. Samir and Dr. Hazar. And of course, in Family Medical Polyclinic in Wokir, there is Dr. Krikor, Dr. Ruba, Dr. Amal, Dr. Sadia, Dr. Sahil, and of course, yours truly, Dr. Ethel.
Is there a number, Dr. Ethel, that they can call for Family Medical Polyclinic? Or perhaps a website or a Facebook?
Maybe we can mention in the...
Definitely. We'll be able to mention that in the post. So again, mga kabayans, if you were not able to tune into our Facebook Live that we're having right now on our Facebook page at Kabayan943, we will be having another one right on our YouTube page, again at Kabayan943, and everything that we talked about there, including the contact numbers of Family Medical Polyclinic, will be there for you, mga kabayan. So again, they have two branches, one in Wokir and one in Al Azizia. Of course, we had with us today Dr. Ethel Cajefe. Maraming salamat po for being here, and it's been a pleasure. Certainly a lot of things I did not know about. Mga kabayan, one take about this is when you are using when you are using sunblock, 15 to 20 minutes. That's one thing, especially right now, and you have to reapply it, mga kabayan, every 20 minutes. I believe this is your first protection for your skin, diba? Especially when it comes to this weather. So again, but if it gets more serious, we recommend you here on Kabayan Radio 94.3, of course, to head on over to seek professional help, and who better than Family Medical Polyclinic.
Jen, can I greet somebody? Can I mention something?
Yes, of course. You may.
Yeah. So, well, I would like to thank everybody for for listening. And of course, I'd like to thank our bosses, Mr. Muhammad and Dr. Mahmoud, Rovillian there, bells. And then I would like to thank my friends who are also watching, everyone in Beauty and You Salon, and then Amor of and Vanessa of Sounds of Era, and my niece Jan and my nephew Renzo.
Hello, Amor and Vanessa.
And yeah.
I know them too. So, yeah. So again, maraming salamat po mga kabayan. For those of you guys who tune in, again, we had the pleasure of interviewing eight years na po siya in Qatar here, practicing a dermatologist at Family Medical Polyclinic. Of course, Dr. Cajefe or Ethel Cajefe here on Kabayan Radio 94.3. Everything you know or everything that we have about Family Medical Polyclinic, including their numbers and their locations, will be posted po on our Facebook and also on our YouTube. Just in case you miss us out, you can check it out again on our YouTube at Kabayan 943. Again, this has been your host, John of 40 After Shifts, a Doctors In. Maraming salamat po sa mga tumutok. I hope you guys have a fantastic evening. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Health is wealth. Ask about your health conditions because the doctor is in. The doctor is in right here on Kabayan Radio 94.3.
The current time is 7:20.
This time check is brought to you by Family Medical Polyclinic, Alwocare and Al Azizia branches. Have a brighter and wider smile with Gulf Dental Center. Gulf Dental Center is one of the biggest dental centers in Qatar that offers modern dental services with their cutting-edge technology and facilities. You are in safe hands from start to finish. Gulf Dental Center, where beautiful smiles are created